Songs of freedom, songs of freedom.
So when I went to school, I didn't know a bit of English, not one word of English, because my grandfather didn't believe in us speaking English because he couldn't understand it and he wasn't about to learn English. But as we got older, country school was always very good to us. Mm-hmm. We never had any problems up to where I went clear to the 8th grade in the country. Mm-hmm. But then once you started high school, it was different. Mm-hmm. There was more kids. There was, I can remember I started school in freshman and COSAD, and it was way different then. That's where you found your no Mexican, no. I think there was one Mexican, one Philippine, and all the rest of them were white. So you know you were. I can remember the kids, especially the boys. The girls weren't bad. You weren't. Everybody has their own group. You know, the rich will stay with the rich, and the poor with the poor. And so we always wanted to fit in somewhere. And everybody, no matter what, you always want to fit in with probably the ones that are the most popular, you know. I think everybody likes that. Mm-hmm. But I always fitted in with the poor ones, but as long as somebody wanted me, that's all I cared about. Mm-hmm. But it's a very, very sad time. I think the time when we found people that were that I think was so strange for me is when we moved to Norfolk, and that town didn't have any blacks, it didn't have any Indians, it didn't have any Spanish people. There was one Spanish family. So when we moved there from North Platte to Norfolk, I can remember going down the street, walking with my kids down the street, and people would stop and would ask us, "Where are you from? What country did you come from?" And we would say, "We're from here. We're from the United States." And they weren't satisfied with that. They'd say, "No, no, no. Where did you come from?" And we'd say, "From here. We're here from the United States. We're born here." And they just were persistent. That didn't satisfy them. But we never told them any different because that's where we were from. I was born here in the United States. My husband was born, and so was all my children. So we really didn't know any other country but here. When I was going to school, mm-hmm. I felt like the teachers, even the teachers they weren't nice. I mean, you know, they never said anything, but you could tell that the popular ones were the ones that they liked the best, and really, you would go and ask them for help, and they probably figure you're not going to amount to much anyway, so we're not going to take our time. So, but no, it was hard then. As I grew up older and was going to high school, how I would get invited to go. My neighbor, people that lived nearby, she would take me to school. And she was very popular. So I kind of got in with the popular girls because of her. And they would take me to she would invite me to go with her to the dances, and I would go. But why I went is beyond me, because I was always a wallflower. Everybody would get up and dance, and being with the girls that were cheerleaders, that were president of the class and secretaries and all of that, naturally the guys were going to go get them to dance. And so I sat among them, and they would leave me, and I was the only one sitting. But I would go home and I would cry and ask God, why did He make others different colors when He could have made one color only? And I would always ask Him, make me white like the rest of them so I could be popular too. And but it never happened. And as I would console myself, I would tell myself, oh well, I don't need to be white because the Mexican people like me. I just think that there is such a change, such a change. I never ever thought that I would come to see a time when a Mexican would marry a white. Never. Because they would never talk to you before. The guys would never talk to you. And now you see this. You see blacks with white, Mexicans with white, Chinese with white, and such a mixture, and so happy. And I think this is something that I think is so good. Even I know my husband, when he passed away, and I remarried, and I married a person that I would never ever think that I would ever marry, would be a white person. And so we would sit and I would tell him, you know, if you would have known me when you were young and I was young, I said, you would have never talked to me. And he says, oh yes I would. And I said, no, because it was just like if it was against the law, you know, you don't talk to those people. And I said, but you're old, that's why you got married to me, because you're old, and it's the new modern time.